Assalamualaikum and hi everybody. Today we learn about chapter 4, defining scope, quality, responsibility and activity sequence. Okay, chapter concept. This chapter discuss about the project scope document, quality, how to define what activities need to be done, who will be responsible for them, and in what sequence they will be performed. It describes techniques and tools to plan the work item and activities that need to be performed in order to accomplish the project objective successfully. The project scope defines what work need to be done, what deliverable need to be produced, then specific activities are defined and arranged in a sequence of dependent relationship to determine how the work will be performed. Based upon this chapter, you will become familiar with clearly define the project objective, preparing a project scope document, understanding the importance of planning for quality, creating a work breakdown structure, or also known as WBS, assigning responsibility for work elements, defining specific activities, creating a network diagram, and utilizing a project management methodology called the System Development Life Cycle for Information System Development projects. Okay, learning outcome. After studying this chapter, as a student, you should be able to establish a clear project objective, prepare a project scope document, discuss the importance and elements of a project quality plan, develop a work breakdown structure, prepare a responsibility assignment matrix, describe how to define specific activities, and create a network diagram. The concept in this chapter support the following project management knowledge area of a guide to the project management body of knowledge, which is PMBOK guide. Project integration management, project scope management, project quality management, and project time management. Established project objective. The planning process is based on the project objective. The project objective establish what to be accomplished. Often the project objective is stated in the project charter or RFP, request for proposal. It is the tangible end product that the project team or contractor must produce and deliver in order for the sponsor or customer to achieve the expected benefit from implementing the project. The project objective should include the following elements, which is expected benefits that will result for implementation of the project and define the success of the project. Primary project end product or deliverable. Date by which the project is required to be complete. Budget within which the project must be complete. Situation can arise where the project objective need to be modified as the project proceed because of extenuating circumstances or new information. The project manager and the customer must agree on all changes to the project objective. Any such changes might affect the remaining work scope, deliverables, completion date, and final cost. Define project scope. The project scope defines what needs to be done. A project scope document includes many of items contained in the project charter, RFP, which is request for proposal, or contractor proposal, but in much greater detail. The document is valuable for establishing a common understanding among project stakeholders regarding the scope of the project. The project scope document usually contains the following section, which is customer requirement. It will define the functional or performance specification for the project and product and other project deliverables. It should also include or reference applicable technical specifications, standard, and codes that must be used and met regarding quality and performance of the project work and deliverables. Next is Statement of Work, SOW. Define the major task or work element that will need to be performed to accomplish the work that need to be done and produce all the project deliverables. The third one is deliverables. Deliverables are the product or output that the project team or contractor will produce and provide to the customer during and at the completion of the performance of the project. Acceptance criteria for all project deliverables must be described in greater detail than what is stated in the project charter or request for proposal, RFP. And the last one is work breakdown structure, also known as WBS. WBS is a hierarchical decomposition of the project scope into work package that produce the project deliverables. The agreed upon project scope document establish the baseline for any changes that may be made to the scope during the performance of the project. A change control system need to be established to define how changes will be documented, approved, and communicated. The project team or contractor must avoid scope creep, which is informally making changes to the project scope without appropriate approval. Plan for quality. Planning for quality is a necessary, yet often forgotten or dismissed function on a project. It is essential to have a plan for assuring the quality of project deliverable and result rather than willing to wait until the end of the project to check if the sponsor or the customer requirement and expectation on project deliverable have been met. It is important to plan for quality in performing the project. This helps assure that the work is done according to specification and applicable standard that deliverable meet acceptance criteria. A project quality plan includes or reference, project specification and standard, industry or government standard, for example, for design, testing, safety, and construction. Code that must be used and met during the performance of the project work. Written procedure for using various quality tools and technique. The key to quality control is to monitor the quality of work early and regularly throughout the performance of the project. Compare result with quality standards. Make any necessary corrective action immediately rather than waiting until the work is completed before checking or inspecting for quality. To ensure that a project is done right at the first time, project should focus on doing the work in accordance with quality standard and therefore preventing quality problems. Okay, next we look into create work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure, also known as WBS. Once the project scope document has been agreed on and prepared, the next step in the planning phase is to create a detailed work breakdown structure. This is a deliverable-oriented hierarchical decomposition of project work scope into work package or activity grouping that produce project deliverables. Creating a WBS is a structured approach for organizing all the work and deliverables into logical groupings. This helps to subdivide the deliverable into manageable component called work item to help ensure that all tasks required to complete the project are identified and included in the baseline project plan. The WBS should include the deconstructed to a level that identify individual work package for each activity for each specific deliverables listed in the project scope document. Dividing a project into work packages and work items will help a contractor increase the level of confidence that all the project or all the activities need to be performed to produce the deliverable can be defined. The type and quantity of resources can be identified or determined. The associated activity durations and costs can be reasonably estimated. Work item should be broken down to the level at which a single organization, for example, marketing, communication, material engineering, human resources, and subcontractor or etc. or individual can be assigned responsibility and accountability for accomplishing the work package. The WBS can be created using a graphic chart format or as a list. Okay, so we learned that the WBS can be created into two types of format, which is graphic chart or list, also known as indenture list. Okay, we can see at the next slide. This is WBS week breakdown to the different levels. Okay, this is work breakdown structure. Okay, this figure depicts the work breakdown structure in a graphic chart format for community festival project. Okay, note that not all the branches in the WBS have to be broken down to the same level. If you can see here, for example, Number 2, volunteer. Person in charge is bad. No branches at this level. Okay. Another example, number 3, games. Person in charge is thief. And below the game activity, they have another 3 activity, which is booth, conduct by Jim, games, conduct by Steve, and prizes, conduct by Jeff. So, not all of the branches in WBS have to broken down into the same level. Some of the branches don't have any broken down. Okay, this is the top is graphic chart. WBS for Consumer Market Study project example. This project is also the example used in Microsoft Project Appendices. You can see the graphic chart format, and the bottom is figure depict an indentation list for the work breakdown structure. Okay, this format is helpful for large project where a diagram should become too large and unwieldy. So if you have a large project, better you use indentation list compared to graphic chart. So graphic chart is suitable for smaller project. Okay, the next one is assign responsibility. Okay, I understand that you cannot see clearly the picture, but you can see the picture in the attachment I attached in the Google Classroom. Okay, a responsibility assignment metric, also known as RAM, define who will be responsible for the work. It is a tool used to design the individual responsible for accomplishing the different work item in the work breakdown structure. Okay, for example, if you see the previous WBS, for every single activity, here activity number 4, right, in charge by Pat. Activity number 5, entertainment, in charge by Jeff. Activity number 6, food, in charge by Bill. So means that every single activity we will have the person in charge. Okay, so this is why we need assign responsibility for every single activity. Okay, this figure depicts the RAM for WBS in figure 4.1, the community festival project. Okay, the RAM often use a P to designate primary responsibility. Okay, if I can zoom here, okay, we can see here we have P, here we have okay, as you can see here, we have S and P here. S, P. Okay, S for support responsibility, P for primary responsibility. Okay, the RAM show all the individual associated with each work item in WBS as well as the work item associated with each individual. Only one individual should be designed as a lead or the leader or the primary person. Okay, only one person in one activity should be the leader. The other one will be the support responsibility. Okay, then we need to define activities. Okay, using the WBS, the individual or team responsible for each work package must be next define all the specific activities that need to be performed to produce the end item or the deliverables. Okay, breaking down each work package into a component activities reveal the level at which each activity must be performed to produce the deliverable. Some activities may not be easily definable. When all the specific activities have been defined for all the work package, they should be consolidated into a comprehensive activity list. Because of the allocation of resources, they will be wait time between the end of one activity and the start of one another. This figure shows the work breakdown structure for a consumer market study project. It depicts the specific activities that need to be performed for each work package. Okay, as you can see here, okay, the title is Consumer Market Study, lead by Jim. Activity 1 is questionnaire, lead by Susan, and activity 2 is report, lead by Jim. Under the activity questionnaire, there are two another activity which is design and respond. Design lead by Susan and respond lead by Steve. What other activity need to be done in the design activity actually? So they list out all the activities. In the design, okay, the people or the person in charge need to identify target consumer, develop draft questionnaire, pilot test questionnaire, review, comment and finalize questionnaire. Also develop the software test data. So this is how we define the activity. Means that for every single activity, we need to know what are the specific activity to be done for that kind of activity. Okay, this is sequence of activity. A network diagram defines the sequence of how the activity will get done. Okay, it is a tool for arranging the specific activities in the best sequence and defining their dependent relationship. You need to know there are three common techniques of network diagramming, which is program evaluation and review technique, also known as PERT, P-E-R-T, the critical path method, CPM, and precedence diagramming method, PDM. In the past, there were distinguishable methodological differences between PERT and CPM. But today, however, when most people refer to a CPM diagram or PERT chart, they mean a generic network diagram. Okay, the top figure show a complete network diagram for a consumer market study project with the person responsible for every single activity included on the diagram. So you can see the diagram clearly in the attachment file. While the bottom figure show a network diagram for a web-based reporting system project. Okay, this is also you can see clearly in the attachment file. Okay, as we can see here, okay, this is network diagram for consumer market study project. So you need to draw a network diagram from the activity start until the activity finish. Then you need to arrange what kind of activity you need to be done first and what kind of activity you need to be do it later. So why you need to arrange the activity? Because maybe because of the constraint of the resources such as people, machine, equipment. Okay, if you have many resources, maybe you can do many work at one time. But if you have constraint in resources, then you need to know what kind of activity need to be done first and what kind of activity need to be done later. In this picture, we can see from activity 1, identify target customer is activity number 1. Activity number 2, develop draft questionnaire. Activity number 3, pilot test questionnaire. Activity number 4, review, comment and finalize questionnaire. Activity number 1, 2, 3 and 4 cannot be done in parallel, means they need to be done in one by one. After activity number 4, you can see there are 4 different boxes, okay, which is activity number 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, because the picture is white, so I divide by 2. Okay, so we can see here activity number 5, 6, 7 and 8. So after activity 5 and 6, they will activity number 9. After activity number 7 and 8, they will activity number 10. After activity 9 and 10 finish, they will be activity number 11. After activity number 11 finish, they will have activity number 12 and 13. Okay, you can see the key here. Okay, the key here. Okay, in the middle box, the large box at the upper part is for activity description. Okay, the smaller box in the left is activity number, and the center box is the person responsible for every single activity. So when you create your own network diagram, you need to follow this key. Okay, later on when you develop your assignment, you need to develop your network diagram. So this is how network diagram look like.